GeoFox, Psych Perspectives, and once again, if you need to take the time to get rest, to spend time in nature, to journal, go to the movies, play video games, take a break from social media. I understand, and honestly, I support it. You need to put you need to put emphasis on your own mental, physical, and well-being, health and well-being. If you need a break, take the break that you need. Again, you don't have to constantly scroll the news sources or social media. Take the time that you need to care for yourself. And I also would like to say continue, if you can, to have fun because trans joy, queer happiness, trans happiness, intersex joy, intersex happiness is important. Everything shouldn't have to be doom and gloom either. Take the time to have some joy. I'm going to have another swig of this water before we get into the next topic. Make sure you're getting your H2O in. So, military banning transgender people from serving. Pentagon's complete ban on transgender military service. Information is in the description box below. So, January 27th, President Trump's executive order, the Pentagon released a policy that is a complete ban on transgender military service, forcing out current service members and banning transgender people from enlisting in the U.S. military. They're removing current service members who are already in active duty or on reserve, actively serving the U.S. military, kicking them out. The scope and severity of the ban are unprecedented. This is a complete purge of all transgender individuals from military service. Again, we can't serve in the military, we can't play sports, we can't go to the bathroom, we can't have health care. I mean, again, if you don't see this as blatant transphobia, blatant discrimination, blatant harassment, blatant persecution of a marginalized identity group, then you are a part of the problem. And if you're not speaking up, and I'm specifically looking at cisgender people and really specifically cisgender males because you're the most privileged group on the planet. If you're not speaking up, you are a part of the problem. And also, you're a fascist. It's just time to start calling people out because a lot of y'all, and I get it, but I'm going to say it. All y'all want to do is talk about who you're fucking, DL this, DL that, bottoms this, tops that. None of that shit is important when people are losing their lives. None of that shit is important when people are losing rights. At some point, there needs to be more conversations outside of sleeping around with every damn thing that walks. Not to mention, you idiots better get real because they're literally removing HIV protections. And a lot of y'all don't wear condoms and refuse to, never get tested, not on PrEP, and likely won't be able to get on PrEP with these new policies being implemented. So you might want to stop just thinking about being on Grindr and Jacked and who you're going to hook up with. I'm really getting to that point where I'm just going to start calling people out. Because when you look at a lot of content creators, you're not talking about shit. You talk about the same shit day in and day out. And I get it, right? Because it's all about the algorithm and getting views and getting attention and making money. And also, I understand dating, sex, love, relationships, pop culture. That's very important. That's what people typically tend to pay attention to. But the out cold part about it is none of that is going to help you when your ass is in a fucking concentration camp because of your sexuality or your gender identity. You better get real. Quote, this is a purge of unprecedented magnitude. There is nothing confusing or complicated about it. The military has 30 days to identify anyone it thinks. And this is why I said this is going to end up harming cisgender people. Because, hate to break it to you, but a lot of you don't even look like the gender you are portraying yourself to be. See, if they think you're transgender, they can potentially remove you from the military service. There was literally footage a week ago of two cis women going to the bathroom, being accosted by two cis male police officers in the female woman's bathroom. Now, this entire time, there's been this whole focus on we got to protect people assigned female at birth, we got to protect cis women and girls. Yet you allowed two cis females to be accosted in the woman's bathroom by two cis male police officers. But I thought you were worried about men being in the woman's bathroom. Again, y'all are so full of shit. It's ridiculous. Anyways, and they were accosted because the two cis male police officers thought one of the females were a man because how they were dressed. So again, a lot of you are going to end up being victims to the transphobic bullshit that's being implemented through these policies. And the only way to avoid discharge is to prove you are not transgender. There is an unconscionable ban that forces the removal of talented service members who put their lives on the line for our nation and slams the door on qualified patriots who meet every standard and want nothing more than to serve the country. Quote by Jennifer Levy, Senior Director of Transgender and Queer Rights. We are challenging this ban for thousands of transgender service members and enlistees who meet and exceed the same rigorous military standards as others and who put their lives on the line to serve this country. And this is what's crazy again. Why should we continue uplifting a country that doesn't want us to have rights? Serving in a military that doesn't even want you to serve in their military. Why are we even paying taxes? You don't have rights. You don't have equal representation. So why are we paying taxes? I mean, literally, what in the hell are we doing? Again, a lot of people thought this wasn't going to happen. Oh, there's no way they can do that. Oh, that's not possible. Oh, it's very possible. Okay. Now, I'm going to read what the memo said too. The memo made public on February 26 on Wednesday from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is literally a sexual abuser and predator himself. Again, so concerned about women and girls, but yet you're electing predators and appointing predators to the president's cabinet. Said service members or applicants for military service who have current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria are incompatible with military service. Yet you will literally have, I can go on and on, you will literally have people serving in the military who have severe depression, yet they're compatible to serve in the military. You will have numerous cis men who have histories of violence, yet, but then again, it's the military. Of course, we want violent cis males to go and kill other violent cis people, right? Anyways, the move comes after the president issued on January 27th, a month ago, executive order ordering the policy change and identifying gender dysphoria incompatible with high standards for troop readiness, lethality, cohesion, honesty, humility, uniformity, and integrity. Meanwhile, the president has never served in the military and literally was a draft dodger. And then what's humility about, being a bigot and talking about grabbing women by the pussy? That's honest, that's cohesive. Okay, that's integrity. Okay. The Pentagon's policy directive calls for establishing procedures to identify service members with gender dysphoria or a history of it within 30 days to begin separation actions. It said that exceptions could be made on a case by case basis if the government deems an interest in assessing the applicant that directly supports war fighting capabilities, or if a service member demonstrates 36 consecutive months of stability in their sex without clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Meanwhile, you literally have cis people who are not able to do that, but yet they can go and be in the military. And then the out cold part is there's going to be trans folks and intersex people who clearly can demonstrate that, but will be denied that. In a statement sent to NPR, Sparta, an advocacy group for transgender service members and veterans, said that trans soldiers have served openly and honorably in the U.S. Armed Forces for nearly a decade. Quote, thousands of transgender troops are currently serving and are fully qualified for the positions in which they serve. Quote, the statement said, quote, no policy will ever erase transgender Americans' contribution to history, warfighting, or military excellence. Quote, the Pentagon memo further states that, quote, the department only recognizes two sexes, male and female. Again, intersex people are completely being erased from the conversation. Transgender people are completely being erased from the conversation. An individual's sex is immutable, unchanging during a person's life. It also says pronoun usage were when referring to a service member must reflect a service member's sex in keeping with good order and discipline salutations. So, for example, addressing a senior officer as sir or ma'am must also reflect an individual's sex, even though gender and sex are two different things. Sexuality and gender are two different things. Last month's executive order from the White House came at no surprise, given that Trump issued a series of tweets in 2017 during his first term, effectively banning transgender people with an executive order in 2017, 8 years ago. Crazy how time flies, and crazy how nobody ever, learns from the past and thinks, oh, that's not going to happen again. It happened before. That policy was subsequently reversed by Biden and Harris administration when they got elected and started serving in 2021. Trump had also repeatedly spoken of his plans to restore the ban on trans service members on the campaign trail ahead of 2024 election. Again, a lot of people voted for Trump, and a lot of people didn't vote at all, and a lot of people voted for third party, and they didn't give a damn that they were throwing transgender people under the bus, that they were throwing intersex people under the bus, that they were throwing LGBTQIA plus queer folks under the bus, women under the bus, people living with disabilities under the bus, people that are, poor, working poor, lower income, working class people under the bus. People didn't give a damn because again, trans folks are literally seen as the scapegoat for everything. Well, who gives a fuck about you? You don't deserve to be here anyways. We can vote and do this. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? But then you expect us to be happy and joyful with people who are blatantly in our face telling us that we shouldn't have the right to live. And then really trying to gaslight us and make us feel bad for having boundaries and speaking up and being angry about how we're literally being treated by this piss poor country and by a lot of you idiots that are supposedly good people. Again, there are about, I'm just keeping it real, there are about 1.3 million military service personnel. Although exact figures of trans people serving aren't known, Palm Cedar Palm Center, a research institute that focuses on studying and advocating for LGBTQ plus inclusion, DEI inclusion within the U.S. military, estimated in 2018 that that figure was about 14,700 trans people serving in the military. And one of the reasons why um, there's not exact figures is because of these situations. You have people who are stealth. They're not out about their intersex or their transgender identity. Just like how you have a lot of cis queer folks who are on the DL and are not out about their sexuality. Quite a bit. But you see why. If they're going to have to be persecuted and treated less than and harassed and murdered and discriminated against and persecuted, you see why. In response to the Pentagon's plan, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Anyways, so in response to the Pentagon's plan, a coalition of 21 attorney generals, including Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel, from across the country, filed a friend of the court brief this Wednesday, February 26, to block implementation on the ban, which New York Attorney General, I think it's Letitia James, in a statement said, quote, crucially targets the transgender Americans who have dedicated their lives to protecting our freedoms. Quote, I want all transgender service members and veterans to know that we see you, we respect you, and we will always fight for you. Your service is invaluable, and we will not allow this bigoted, transphobic attack to diminish your service to our country. New York Attorney General Letitia James said. In addition to New York, attorney generals from Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and Wisconsin signed on to that brief. So I do, again, want to highlight the cisgendered people, the advocates who are speaking up and using their platforms, their positions, and their privileges to speak up against transphobia and against the ongoing onslaught, hatred, and discrimination and persecution of transgender people, intersex people. Because that's what being an ally is about. It's essentially using your privileges to speak out against discrimination, bigotry, harassment of marginalized communities who don't have the same privileges as you do. It's one of the reasons why I personally am consistently speaking out against the ongoing attacks against the trans community, intersex community, working class, working poor, um, people of color, African American, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, Indigenous, immigrants, um, women, girls, what have you. You use your privileges, so one day the privileges will become basic human rights for all of us, regardless of how we identify. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. If you are a cisgendered person, especially if you are a cisgendered male, you need to be speaking up. You need to be an ally. Nobody wants to hear, oh, well, I don't understand pronouns and I don't. This is not the time. And then what gets me is these are the same cis people, especially you cis queers, who are now screaming and hollering about gay marriage. Yet, where was yo ass when we were sounding the alarm years ago about the ongoing transphobic hate train that we were facing? Like I said, you thought you was safe. They about to throw your gay ass under the bus right along with everybody else. Like I said, but one of these days, y'all gonna listen. That's, y'all gonna listen. Because a lot of y'all thought, I'm safe. I'm not trans. I'm not intersex. I'm not a woman. Oh, but you're gay. And you're married. And they're coming for you and that marriage too. We told y'all. And again, to my trans and intersex people, I'm gonna keep saying it. If that cis person is not aware of what's going on, they don't advocate for you, they're not fighting for you, they're not supporting you, they don't show up for you, they can't love you in the public, they can't love you out loud, they don't celebrate you, that is not a safe person to be around in these times. I'm just going to call a thing a thing. You need to get away from these people. And again, y'all get mad at me for saying shit, but I'm going to keep saying it. Most of the time, if it's not about sex, when does a cis person ever hit you up? I'll wait. Ain't nobody called to see how you're doing, especially with all this shit going on. Ain't nobody called or text to see how you're feeling, if you need help, if you need support. But yet, when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, they can hit you up on Grinder, they can hit you up on Jack, they can send that late night DM. You need to stop allowing cis people to sexualize and fetishize you. I'm gonna keep saying that. At the end of these videos, I'm gonna keep saying that. Information is in the description box below. But again, we've been telling people for years what was likely going to come down the pipeline, and people thought it wasn't real. And now we're in it. You can either be on the right side of history or you can be on the wrong side of history. You have always had a choice, but a lot of you choose to either be neutral, which is essentially on the wrong side of history, ignore what's going on, be constantly. I've literally heard people, oh, they downplay politics. They don't think anything is real or serious unless it is personally impacting them. And then when it does impact them, then all of a sudden you want everybody to stand behind you. But where was you when other people needed help? That selfishness, that self centeredness, that narcissistic shit is not going to work out well for a lot of you. I'm just going to keep it real. More information is in the description box below.